have a shirt from a studio that I used to teach at in Austin, Texas, named Kula Yoga. And I just love the word. It just means community. And it's one of those things that yogis are really good at, only because they're just very intentional about being kind and honest and helping people do their hard interior work, right? So when you have people around who help you do that, or at least they're just sort of in the space, holding the space for you, it creates a lot of breathing room, right? So that you can figure out what you need. So that's the theme today. So let's go ahead and get to the top of your mat. And then you're going to come up to the top of your mat. We're going to come down to the ground pretty quickly though. So you're going to take your feet about hips distance apart. Take your toes and lift them up and spread them out and place them back down. Squeeze your legs into the midline so you feel that inner thigh area squeezing in. And then just check your hips for a moment. Some of us have a larger curve in the low back. Some of us have a much longer low back that doesn't curve as much. But I want you to lift your front hip points. So find your hip points here in the front of your hips, and then lift, and then drop, and then lift, and then drop, and then zip up your belly as you're doing that. And you're going to find that there is just a perfect place that feels like your low back is lengthening and your low belly is lifting. And once you're at that place, go ahead and take your fingers down and stretch your fingers toward the ground. So we're going to go for a side stretch first. Take the arms up on the inhale, interlace the fingers, lift up tall and stretch over to your right hand side. As you stretch over to your right hand side, keep zipping up the low belly. Let your head rest on your right arm and lift your right arm up against your ear. And breathe deeply. Breathe into the back and breathe into the sides. This is one of my favorite ways to start a class. It just really gets this nice lengthening of those oblique abdominals, which in general, we just sit too much and compress too much and they get really tight. And then they start pulling those ribs down towards your hips. And that's where a lot of our spine issues come from. So bend the knees. You're going to cross that left leg behind the right leg and keep stretching to your right. All right, come on up. Keep that crossing of the legs. Now you're going to bend your legs and bring your hands down to the ground. If you can't bring your hands down to the ground, bring them down to blocks. And then once you're here on blocks or down to the ground, you're going to walk over to the right hand side. So you don't have to do anything really dramatic. We're just trying to get a little bit more stretch and twist here. Big inhales and big exhales. Zip up your low belly a little bit. All right, we'll go back to the center. Bring your hands to your hips. Inhale, come on up. Let's go for the other side. So take the arms up on the inhale. Lift up and stretch over to your left-hand side. Lift your left arm up against your ear. Let your head rest on the left arm. All right, bend the knees a little bit. Cross that right leg behind the left leg. Keep stretching to your left. All right, come on up and then slowly bend the knees and bring the hands down to blocks or down to the ground. So one of the things I didn't mention on the other side is if blocks are still far away, you can do this against the wall. So I'll demonstrate here. Blocks here, so you can come up a little higher. You can also put your hands up against a wall. You're going to walk over to that left corner and zip up that low belly. All right, bring it back to the center. Unwind your legs. Take your hands to your hips. Inhale, come on up. And just take a moment and notice if you feel a little bit warmer around your core. Now we're going to come down to the ground. Take the arms up on the inhale. Look up toward the thumbs. Exhale, fold and bend the knees. Inhale, stretch forward and look forward. Exhale, step back. Press forward and then drop your knees and then drop all the way down to your belly. Roll the shoulders onto your back and then slide your hands back a little bit more in line with your chest. Squeeze your elbows toward each other. Zip up your belly. Pull the belly in towards your spine. Pull the front ribs in towards your spine. Extend through the legs a little bit more. See if you can spread your toes out. If you're feeling, excuse me, if you're feeling any compression here in your low back, see if you can pull your belly in more. You may also need to adjust your hips a little bit and roll your pubic bone toward the ground a little bit more. Now lift your hands off the ground. Keep squeezing the elbows toward each other. So our first shoulder opener, essentially. All right, plant the hands behind your shoulders, roll the shoulders onto your back, come to all fours, and then let's do one more shoulder opener, hips over the knees, walk the hands forward. So there are two options here. You can come into the old-fashioned variation where your forehead or your chin is on the ground. If you're really tight in the shoulders and that does not feel comfortable for you, you can take your blocks about shoulder distance apart, clasp your hands together, and let your head hang that way. And you can play a little bit with the arms. Fist forward, fist up, fist toward the back. They all access slightly different areas in the shoulders, so you can play with that as well. If you have chosen not to use blocks, make sure that you're slightly resisting the ground with your hands. So press down into the ground with your hands. Try to lift your arm muscles up against your arm bones. All right, come back up to hands and knees. We're going to do a little cat-cow, but we're going to change the neck on the cat-cow a little bit. So claw the ground. Inhale, lengthen your spine and lift your chin a little bit. And then exhale, round your back, tuck your chin, pull the belly and the front ribs up into the spine. Get a nice big stretch through the back. Inhale, lengthen out again. Reach your heart forward, reach your tailbone back, pull the belly in even here. Exhale, round, pull the belly up, ribs up, tuck the chin as much into your chest as you can. Inhale, lengthen out. Two more of these. All right, come to a cow. And now in your cow, you're going to tuck your chin into your chest. You're going to do a cat head with a cow body, essentially. So tuck your chin into your chest, but keep everything else nice and long. Now round your back. Pull the belly in, pull the front ribs in. And then your head isn't going to lift a lot, but try. Lift your chin up and look forward. So you've got a lot happening around the neck, but this is actually creating some really nice traction. Well, it'll be traction in a second, but this is creating some really nice changes in the neck and shoulders that are going to be feeling looser in a moment. So as you inhale, lengthen out, look up more. Exhale, tuck your chin into your chest. Hang out there so you're getting the SCM, the sternocleidomastoid, nice and stretched out here. And then round your back again. So you've got the full-blown cat now. And then lift your chin. Again, it's not going to lift much. Make sure you're breathing. Lengthen out, lift your chin as much as you can. Make sure you can still swallow and breathe. Tuck your chin into your chest. And round your back. All right, come to a neutral place. Extend your right leg back behind you and extend your left arm out in front of you. So we're going to give you a couple different options here. Once you're in this position, you could theoretically reach back and grab your left foot. So if you're still working on balance, start with the right leg and just bend it. And then lift that right heel up toward the ceiling. And that might be enough. Pull the belly in, pull the front ribs in. And if you want to add in a little bit of shoulder, reach back. So notice I'm not grabbing my foot, I'm just reaching back. And it's pretty big on that shoulder. And then if I do feel a little bit more flexible, I'll try to grab the top of the foot. Pull the belly in, pull the front ribs in. All right, we'll let that go. Left hand down, right leg down. Let's go for the other side. Extend your left leg back behind you. Extend your right arm out in front of you. Take some moments here. Breathe. All right, bend that left leg. Lift the left heel up a little bit higher. Keep pulling the belly in and front ribs in. And then claw the ground with your left hand. Reach back with your right hand. That might be all you need to start getting a little bit opening in that shoulder. If it seems feasible, grab your foot. All right, let that go. Right hand down, left leg down. Flip your toes over, find a downward dog, and then walk it out. Take your right foot, grab the back of your left ankle just above the heel and press your heel down. So we're just trying to get a little bit of a hamstring stretch and a calf stretch here. And that Achilles tendon will get a little bit longer. So the heel may not come to the ground. That's not really the goal. The goal is just to get a little bit of a stretch back there. So you don't actually have ankle muscles. You have muscles in your legs that come down and through the ankles essentially, but it's really mostly gristle. It's ligaments and tendon in your ankles. So when we do calf stretches, we're helping the ankles out. So go to the other side, grab your right ankle just above the heel and press down. Relax the neck. Make sure your neck feels relaxed. You don't feel like your shoulders are hunched up around your ears. You may need to roll your shoulders onto your back. Keep zipping up the low belly. All right, and then let that go. Look up, inhale, step forward, and then let's hang. Grab your elbows, press your top forearm into your bottom forearm, and then maybe swing slightly from side to side. Keep zipping up the low belly. Okay, take the hands to the hips, squeeze the elbows toward each other, bend the knees, and then big inhale, come all the way up to the sky. Take the arms to the sides. All right, we're gonna go into another sort of modified sun salutation. Take the arms up on the inhale, look up toward the thumbs. Exhale, fold. Inhale, stretch forward. Exhale, step back. Press forward, drop your knees, lower all the way down. All right, next one, we're gonna interlace the fingers behind the back. So roll the shoulders onto your back. Elbows probably are gonna be a little bit bent. Roll your pubic bone toward the ground and then lift your chest up. Try to keep your toes on the ground. I know they wanna pop up, but see if you can keep pressing down through the toenails. Keep trying to roll your pubic bone toward the ground and keep trying to pull the belly and the ribs up toward the spine. So you're trying to pull the ribs off the ground. Breathe deeply. All right, plant the hands behind your shoulders. Roll your shoulders onto your back, come up to hands and knees. All right, now we're gonna go for a side plank. So left hand stays put. You're gonna swing your left foot off the mat. So the left knee basically stays put, it just rotates in place. Press into your left shin and take your right arm toward the sky. So you're doing a side plank and press into that left shin and left foot so you don't have all the weight in the knee. And then lift your right leg up. So you should be using you should feel your outer right hip here doing a little bit of lifting. And then you can also do another little back bend, another little shoulder opener here. You can bend your right knee and reach for your right foot and possibly grab it. And then go for another little back bend here. And maybe look up toward the sky. All right, extend that right leg, bring it back down. Let's go for the other side. Bring your right hand to the ground, come to all fours. And then once you're here, keep the right knee mostly in place, swing the right foot off the mat. Extend your left leg down to the bottom of your mat. Take your left arm toward the sky. Press into your right toes and your right shin so your knee doesn't take all the weight. And then lift that left leg up. And then you can add in a little bit more if you'd like. Bend that left leg, reach back with that left arm. You can grab the foot, try for it. Little back bend. Maybe look up toward the sky. All right, let that go. Left foot back down. Come back to all fours, quadruped. And then flip your toes over and find a downward dog and walk it out a little bit. All right, lift your right leg toward the sky. Take a moment to get a little bit better alignment here. Roll the inner right thigh toward the sky. Spiral your right hip down, your outer right hip down. Press your left heel down, but also lift your left hip crease up. And if your hamstrings are yelling at you, bend your knee a little bit. Or if the back of your knee feels overstretched, bend your knee. Look up. Bring that right knee up into your chest. See if you can tap the back of your right arm. Extend back again, big inhale. Come forward again, see if you can get your forehead and your knee to touch. So you can feel this in your shoulders. Extend back out one more time. You're going to try to touch the back of your left arm. Inhale, extend back out. And then exhale, lunge it forward. All right, so if you're tight, you may end up having your hands on the ground. If you're a little bit looser in the hips, you may come down a little bit closer to the ground. So forearms come to a block. Excuse me. Or down to the ground. So forearms to the block or to the ground, or you can keep your hands on the ground. The main thing is if you decide to go deeper, keep your chest up and your chin up. Try to maintain lengthening through the spine here. So big breathing. And I get a lot of questions about what direction your knee and feet are supposed to be pointing. As long as you don't feel pinching in the hip, you're good. So if your inner hip feels pinched, I would recommend experimenting a little bit with your positioning and maybe turn your right toes out a little bit. Turns out a lot of people have different shaped hips. So some of us have more round hip sockets, some of us have more oval hip sockets. So you gotta find something that works for your hip socket. All right, let's add in a little bit of a twist here, just to get into that groin a little bit more. So you're gonna walk your hands over to the left corner, and then you're gonna try to twist your right rib cage down and your left rib cage up. So again, you can come down to your forearms if you'd like, but most important is just this gentle twist of twisting your right rib cage toward the ground and trying to lift your left rib cage up. And you'll feel this in your right hip socket. All right, walk it back to the center. Step back to down dog. Let's go for the other side. Lift your left leg up toward the sky. Take a moment to find some better alignment. Roll your inner left thigh toward the sky. Spiral your left hip bone down. Lift your arm muscles up against your arm bones. Press your right heel down and lift your right hip crease up. And if you feel too much tugging in the right hamstrings behind the leg or behind the knee, then bend your knee a little bit. Relax the neck. Make sure you don't feel like your shoulders are hunching up around your ears. All right, a little bit of core here. Come forward, shoulders over the wrists. Left knee is going to try to touch the back of the left arm on the exhale. Inhale, extend back behind you. Exhale, come forward, try to touch your forehead and knee. Inhale, back behind you. Exhale, come forward, try to touch the back of your right arm. Inhale, back behind you. And exhale, lunge that left leg forward. All right, same thing here. So hands on the ground or forearms. You can also use your blocks. Figure out where you want to be. Mainly just be honest with yourself. Are you rounding your back, or are you able to keep your chest up and your chin up? So if you are able to keep the spine long, chest up, chin up, you're in a good place. And then zip up the belly and breathe. Check in with that left hip. If you feel some pinching, rearrange your foot, maybe slightly turn the toes out a little bit. Drag that right knee forward. Zip up your low belly. All right, let's go to the side. So you're going to start walking over to the right corner and then lift your right rib cage and drop your left rib cage. And you can do kind of like a baby push-up here, just sort of bend those elbows. Keep lifting your right rib cage and dropping your left rib cage. So it's a little twist. All right, come back through the center here. Find a downward dog. Walk it out a little bit. Drop your knees to the ground and then take a moment. So you're going to take your legs wide. And you can have your blocks behind you, or you can just press your hands into the ground. It really just depends on how tight your low back is. So if you feel like you're tight in the low back, push down into the blocks behind you. And so that's what I'm doing, is just getting some more lift in the spine. Otherwise, hands on the ground. And then notice how my feet are pretty wide. So if you're on your mat with your mat going long ways, your feet are on the edges of your mat. And then you're going to drop your knees over to the right and just kind of play with, like, where do they go? And then drop your knees over to the left. We're going to go for a little bit more flexibility in a second, but right now you're just playing with this. So knees drop, maybe drop them a little closer to the ground. Knees drop again, maybe a little bit closer to the ground. Keep going. Just make sure you're breathing. It's kind of like windshield wipers, right? You just kind of windshield wipe your legs from side to side. Also, roll your shoulders onto your back. So you're going to start getting a little bit more shoulder rolling onto your back, a little bit more back bend. So as you drop your knees, let's say you're dropping your knees to your right, lift your left side and drop your left shoulder onto your back. And then if you drop your knees over to the left side, roll that right shoulder onto your back and lift your right rib cage a little bit more. So you're starting to get a little bit more upper back bend here. Really try to get those shoulders to roll onto your back as you go from side to side. Okay, now what we're going to do is, it doesn't matter what side you're on, you're going to drop down and then you're going to lift the opposite arm from the side you're dropping your knees towards. So if your knees drop to the right, lift up your left arm and reach it back behind you. And then look up toward the sky. We're working towards something here, so it may look pretty basic right now, but we'll get there. Right, left hand back down the ground, drop your knees over to the left side, and then roll that left shoulder onto your back and lift your right arm up. Roll both shoulders onto your back and keep reaching through that right arm. So we're just getting into some of the shoulder mobility here. All right, bring the hand back down, drop your knees back over to the right side again. Now you're going to roll onto your right shin and press into your right shin, so you can get your left leg straighter and your left arm extended. All right, come on down. Drop your knees over to the left side, lift your right arm up. Then you're going to roll onto that left shin and push into the ground with your right foot so that your right leg is pretty straight. Your weight is in your left shin. Extend back. Make sure your neck feels comfortable. So you may need to pull your chin in a little bit. All right, come back down. We'll do this one more time and see if we can get both legs straight. Drop the knees over to the right. Roll into that right shin at first to extend the left leg, and then see if you can extend your right leg. And breathe. So you're probably on the pinky edge of your right foot. Everybody's a little different. All right, come down. Let's go for the other side. Drop your knees over to the left side. Take your right arm up, press into that left shin first, get that right leg straight, and then see if you can get that left leg straight. Come to the pinky edge of that left foot, and extend. And come on down. Nice job. All right, let's find a child's pose. So take your knees wide, feet together, and then press into child's pose. Press forward into the mat so that your hips push back towards your heels. All right, we're gonna get into the hips a little bit more. So we got the mother of all hip openers here. I often do this standing up, but it's a balancing exercise standing up. So what we're gonna do is do this on the ground, so we really just work those hips. So you're gonna extend your right leg back behind you. Then walk your left hand off the mat. You want a lot of space between the hands. Then you're gonna bend your right knee. Point the right knee out to the side, bring the right knee forward towards your right armpit, and then extend your right leg out, and then lift it up a little bit, and then look at your toes. Take 10 breaths here. All right, bring that leg back in. Nice work. Walk your left hand back onto your mat. Extend your left leg back behind you. Bend your left leg. Walk your right hand off the mat so you'll have space between the shoulders. Point the knee out to the left. Bring the left knee forward. Lift it up a little bit and extend the left leg, and then take 10 breaths here. Hold the belly in. And bring those back in. All right, go wide with your knees one more time, child's pose. Take some big, deep breaths and completely relax into the ground. All right, so from here, come to your hands and knees again. Lunge your right leg forward. Take your time. And then we're going to do another side stretch here, a little twist. So from here, you may want to put your forearm on a block. You can also just keep your hand on the ground. I'm just keeping in mind that wrists might be getting a little tired. So turn the right toes out to the right. And then you're going to bend your back knee. And then see if you can reach back again. And see if you can grab the top of the foot. Roll your left shoulder onto your back as well. So again, it's not a big deal if you can't grab your back foot. A lot of us have super tight shoulders, super tight quads. Not a big deal, but the fact that you're going that direction really matters. So reaching back, get that right shoulder onto your back, get that left shoulder onto your back. The fact that you're even trying to bend your back leg is giving you the quadricep stretch you need. All right, now we're going to do a side stretch, and then we'll go for the other side. So come back to the center, get back on your left shin. We're going to do a little bit of a forward bend here just to get into the hamstrings. So again, you can use your 2 blocks if you're really tight in the hamstrings. Press down the left shin, drag your right heel back, and do a little forward bend over the right leg. If this is really easy, then you are totally invited to do something more resembling the splits. But if this is not easy, hang out here, drag your heel back, and you can even experiment a little bit by turning the toes back and forth. If you want to go a little deeper, that's fine. Just kind of slide front leg, back leg, find your spot. Don't overdo it. So we're not going for goals here. We're just trying to make sure that the hamstring is getting the stretch that it needs. And your body tends to be really tight in the morning anyway. So many of us would be doing a lot, quote unquote, better if this were afternoon and our bodies were warmed up. But the great thing about practicing in the morning is that you are much safer about how you use your body because your body's tight and it lets you know. All right, so from here, you're going to keep that weight in your shin, slide your right foot back, and then you're going to come up to sort of a perching posture here. All right, now you're going to turn to your side. So you're going to turn over to the left. You can use your block if you want to for this. Bring your left foot in, and then you're going to extend your right leg. Right hand to the thigh, left arm up. Reach up. So this is kind of like triangle, except we're not standing up. Drag that right heel in, extend to the right. Get some nice big inhales, big exhales. As you get more flexible here, your right hand will slide down the leg more, and someday you grab your foot with both hands. Keep in mind, though, that this is morning, so your body's just a little bit tighter. It's probably not going to go there, even if it could in the afternoon. Big breaths. All right, come on up. Bring that right foot in. Take a moment. Do a child's pose. Just check in and see how you feel. All right, let's go for the other side. So come to your hands and knees. Step your left leg forward. Bring your arms to the inside of your left leg. Turn your left toes out to the left. So turn them out to about a 45-degree angle. Peel that left foot up off the floor. Again, you can bring forearm to a block if your wrists are getting a little tired. And then look over your left shoulder. Roll both shoulders onto your back. Possibly bend that back leg, but if not, just drag your back knee forward. Someday you're supposed to be on the flesh above the kneecap, not on the actual kneecap. And then extend that left arm back behind you. And then maybe they grab, maybe they don't. Don't worry about it. Just breathe and try to get something that kind of looks like the shape. We're just trying to get into those quadriceps right now. All right, come back to the center and then push back so that your hips are over your knee, your right knee. Again, if you're a little bit on the tight side with those hamstrings, which most people are, then you're going to use these blocks to hang out so you don't have to go forward so much. Keep your spine long, drag your left heel back, hinge at the hips. I highly recommend turning the toes in a little bit and turning the toes out a little bit. Your hamstrings consist of 3 muscles and 5 insertion points. So as you're doing this, you're going to find one of these hamstrings is a little tighter than others. And that's what you want to investigate. All right, so take a moment. You're going to swing that right foot in so that your shin is parallel to the short end of the mat. Extend that left leg back. And then take that left hand to the thigh and stretch over. And if this doesn't work for the knees, there's a good chance that you need to have like a blanket underneath you, or you need to push into your right foot a little bit more. And again, don't worry about how far you go. Just breathe into it and let your body tell you where it needs to go. All right, and then come out of that one, and we're going to sit for a moment. Okay, so this next one is one of my favorite core postures because it does a lot of what happens in plank when you're pronating, those are the feet, when you are prostrate. So when you're supine, facing up toward the ceiling, You use the same core muscles. It's really nice, but you don't have to get into the shoulders so much. The shoulders don't take on the weight. So you want one block under your feet, one block under your shoulders. We're going to do 2 of these. So you're going to place your heels on one block, kneecaps pointing up toward the sky. So be very conscious of trying to internally rotate your legs a little bit here. Upper shoulders on the other block. And then you're going to take your hands underneath your head, create a little hammock or sling for your head to rest in, and then you're going to lift your hips. So let's take about 20 breaths here. Try to get really long, stretch out. Keep breathing, keep getting nice and long, keep lifting your hips. You feel your butt muscles doing some work, you're doing it right. All right, drop your hips and take a moment and just roll off your blocks. And you can prop yourself up or lie down on your bottom arm. So you can use that bottom arm as a pillow. Just take a moment, rest, check in, see where you exerted effort. So you may feel your spine is a little warm. You may feel your back is warm. You may feel it more in your glutes. All right, let's do it again. So from here, find your upper back on one block and your heels on the other block. Take your hands under your head. Make a little hammock so you're lifting up with your hands and your head will hang down and you shouldn't be using your neck. Roll those knees in. Lift your hips up, 20 breaths. See if you can stretch your elbows out to the sides. Keep stretching out. You got 5 breaths left. All right, now let it go. Roll around to the other side this time. Take a moment and rest on the opposite side from before. Use your bottom arm as a pillow. Completely melt into the ground. All right, and then go ahead and come up to a seated posture. Okay, so one more thing, and this is where you may need a strap. So we're gonna check the hips and see how they feel. We've been doing some pretty subtle hip openers, but see how a double pigeon feels. So you're gonna take your left leg in, right leg over. In a perfect world, shins parallel, but that's just not for us. Most of us just don't live in that perfect world. So your left foot may come a little bit closer to your right hip underneath. You may end up having a knee popping up. You may end up not being able to get that right ankle on top of that left leg at all. So you just bring it forward onto a block. And then once you've got your double pigeon, pull your glutes out. So you actually want to grab your butt, pull it back and out, and then grab your butt on the other side, pull it back and out. So you have a little bit of the flesh of your buttocks more spread out. And then from here, go for a bit of a forward bend. So if you have pretty tight hips, your forward bend is simply trying to sit up tall. If you have a little bit more looseness in the hips, then try to hinge at the hips and come forward. So breathe deeply. All right, wherever you are, keep the legs. You're gonna take your right arm and you're gonna bring your right arm across, and then you're gonna hook your left elbow underneath. So my left hand is pointing toward the ceiling, and I'm hooking my left elbow under my right arm. And I'm just basically pulling that right arm in a little bit closer to my left shoulder. So I'm just squeezing in with this left arm. So you get a little bit of a stretch on the back of the shoulder and the top of the shoulder there. A little bit of a tricep stretch as well. Okay, next thing, we're gonna try to grab our hands behind our backs, but if you find that you feel sort of impingement and tightening in your shoulders, then you're gonna do a slightly different variation. So you're gonna take your right arm up, and if you're a little tight, you may wanna put the strap in your hand. Drop your right hand behind your back, and then see if you can pull your right elbow and right arm a little bit closer to your head. So in a perfect world, your arm is behind your head slightly. Wherever it goes is fine. And then you're going to take your left arm out, thumb down, and bring your hand behind your back and see if you can grab your fingers or grab your strap. So not everybody likes this. This left shoulder, this left shoulder tends to kind of roll in for some people, and it's not a good feeling, and you should really pay attention to that. If it doesn't feel good, you're probably impinging and squeezing in there because of scar tissue, tightness, whatever. So if that's the case, you're going to ignore this right arm, and you're going to take your left hand and pull it around and interlace the fingers on the right side. So basically trying to make a fist on the left side, or on the right side. So what you're trying to do is open up this left shoulder. This is more important than going to the full posture and the full shape. It's more important to start opening up the pecs and whatever scar tissue and whatever tightness you may have on the front of that left rotator cuff. So this is a great option here. And then maybe a bit of a forward bend. So don't forget to breathe. All right, come on up. Let's go for the other side. So take your legs forward. You may want to roll them around a little bit, windshield wiper them, and then take your right leg under and left leg over. Find your variation. You may have to slide that right foot back or bring that left foot forward a little bit. Sit up as tall as you can. Press the balls of your feet out and press the hands in, and then maybe a bit of a forward bend here. Don't forget to breathe. And don't feel like you have to force the forward bend. Forward bends for at least 50% of us is really just trying to sit up tall. A lot of us have a lot of tightness in the low back and the hips, and sitting up tall is very challenging. Okay, come on up. You're going to take your left arm across your body, and you're going to hook your right arm underneath and hook it at the elbow or just above the elbow, and then pull in, kind of squeeze that right arm in so you're getting a nice stretch through the shoulder and tricep of your left arm. All right, let that go. Now you're going to take that left arm up, and again, you may want to put your strap in your left arm. Pull that arm behind you. Keep your chin up. Don't forget to breathe. If it seems appropriate to take the right arm out, thumb down, and bring the hands up and grab your fingers or your strap, that sounds great. You can even go for a forward bend. If you're feeling tightness, kind of a pinching feeling in the front of your right shoulder, that means that you just don't have enough looseness there yet for this to be a really great posture for you. So you're going to take that left hand from behind your head, grab your fingers, and make a fist over on the left side. And then you can try for a little bit of a forward bend. You keep trying to roll that right shoulder onto your back. And don't forget to breathe. and then come on up. All right, now we're gonna do cow face. So take your legs out, maybe rock them around a little bit. Now we're gonna go right leg on top again. So you could just try to take one right leg over and try to stack your knees over them. I find that I like it to be a little bit of a tighter squeeze. So if you want your legs to be a little bit more together, you can take your left leg behind your right leg and then swing your feet out and then walk yourself in, and it just gets a little bit more of the flesh of this posture pulled together. So once you're there, knees roughly stacked over each other. And again, it may not look super pretty. You may not have the knees perfectly stacked. It's okay. Then you're going to take your left hand out to the side. So if your right leg is on top, your left hand goes out to the side. Take your right arm up and stretch over to your left. So we're getting into those oblique abdominals again, a little bit of shoulders. And then this is the easier side. You might be able to drop your left elbow toward the ground, and then you want to look up towards your right hand. And that creates a nice neutral neck that should feel pretty comfortable. All right, come on up. Let's get into the other hip. Right hand to the ground, left arm over, and then stretch. Maybe drop your right elbow to the ground. I'm making this look really easy. It may not be that easy. And then keep breathing here. And you should feel a whole lot happening in that left hip as you come over to this side. And then look up towards your left hand. All right, come on up. Let's switch the legs. So lean back, switch your legs, flip them over, or if you want to get a little bit of a tighter lock between your legs, take your right leg behind your left leg, swing your feet out, and walk it back. And then once you get those knees roughly stacked, then we're going to go to the other side. So again, if your left leg is on top, you're going to go to the right first. So take that right hand out, take that left arm over, reach. Maybe drop the right elbow, just experiment with it. Look up at your left hand, breathe. All right, come on up and let's go for the other side. So again, this is a bigger stretch on that right hip. Do not feel like you have to bring your forearm to the ground. It may be absolutely impossible, but do your best to see if you can drop that left elbow a little bit. Look up into your right hand. All right, come on up. Now we're going to go for Matsyendrasana. So from here, this is the fish pose, Lord of the fish poses. So you're going to bring your left foot underneath, and your right foot is either going to be to the inside of your knee, or if you're a little bit more flexible in the hips, your right foot's going to go to the outside of your knee. So the way you, good alignment usually requires that your toes actually point slightly past the knee. So if I were to come through and draw a marker line across the floor, that marker line would go right where my toes attach to my foot. So my toes are going to poke past that line in front of the knee. And then the most important part of this is just try to keep your right foot planted here. So your right hip might pop up off the ground. That's okay. So take your block, stick it behind you. You're going to press your right hand into the ground or into the block. Keep pushing your right foot flat into the ground. Hug your right leg with your left hand. Sit up tall, and your twist is going to originate from the ground and spiral up. So lift up, start with the hips, the low belly, the middle belly, the upper rib cage. Finally look over your right shoulder. Again, breathe, pull the front ribs in. It's almost like you're pulling your lungs back towards your spine. Keep breathing. Keep that right foot planted. If it seems appropriate, you feel like you've got a pretty deep twist here, you can take your left arm to the outside of your right leg and apply a little bit of pressure and go into a deeper twist, but keep that right foot planted. The right foot staying planted helps you keep your low back and sacrum a little bit more supported. Don't forget to breathe. come back to the center. We're going to do a counter twist. So keep the legs, twist over to the left, go wide with your hands, and then you're going to do like a little baby push-up. Bend your elbows, lift your left rib cage, drop your right rib cage. That should feel really good as you twist through the fascia of your back and your spine. I find that if you sit at a desk a lot, this is a really great one. All right, come on out of it. Let's go for the other side. So switch legs. Right foot comes under, close to your left hip. Left foot will be to the inside of your knee or the outside of your knee. Take your block behind you. Plant that left foot. Hug the left knee with your right hand. Sit up as tall as you can. Lift your heart, lift your chest, lift your spine. Imagine you've got a string coming up through the top of your head. Lift and then twist from the pelvis and then the low belly and then the middle. And just travel up the spine, eventually look over the left shoulder. If it seems appropriate and you can keep that left foot planted, see if you can take your right arm to the outside of your left leg. Keep twisting. Don't forget to breathe. Try to find space to breathe in your back. So whenever you twist, what you're doing is you're pulling those ribs in, and it kind of feels difficult to get any breathing into the front of the ribs. So you got to find breathing in the back of the ribs. Try to expand backwards. All right, come back through the center, counter twist, so keep the legs. Bring your hands out to the sides pretty wide, and then lift your right rib cage and drop your left rib cage and do a little tiny push-up. All right, and then come on out of this. Nice job. All right, so let's lie on our backs. And we're going to use the strap here. So as you lie on your back, you're going to take the ball of the foot into the strap. If you can grab your big toe, do that. So place your left heel on the ground, press the back of your left thigh toward the ground, and you're going to pull that right leg in. Just checking in with these hamstrings again, inner thighs as well. Keep breathing. The strap, if you can't grab the foot, the strap is there right on the ball of your foot, so you can press the ball of your foot into the strap, but you're also using the strap to pull the leg down into your hip socket. So you're creating essentially an eccentric stretch rather than an isometric stretch. You're pulling down and pushing away, and you have resistance. Real resistance, whereas with isometric stretching, it's sort of imagined resistance. Press your left thigh down and your left heel down. Now lift your head and shoulders up and bow towards your right leg. All right, bring your head and shoulders down. Take that leg out to the right. So you're going to keep your left hip on the ground. Bring your left hand to your left thigh, left hip. Lower your right leg down. Do not let your left hip pop up. Keep pressing down. Take a little look at your right foot. Right heel should be slightly higher than the right toes, so you're trying to create some external rotation of that right leg. Maybe look over your left shoulder. All right, take that leg back up. Switch hands on your strap or on your foot. And you're going to roll onto your outer left hip, outer left thigh, and stack your right hip on top of your left hip. Now, the only problem with this posture is that there's a lot of tucking under that happens here. So you may have to bend your right knee a little bit and try to stick your tailbone out so you can get a little bit of a curve in your low back. Stick your tailbone out, zip up your low belly. That way it isolates into the hip and doesn't create this overstretched area in your low back. And then look over your right shoulder. All right, come back out of this one. Let's go for the other side. So lift your left leg up, put the strap around the ball of your foot, extend your right leg. If you're not using your strap, press out into your hands, pull in with your hands, pull those arm bones into your shoulder sockets, roll your tailbone toward the ground, try to get a bubble of air under your low back. So you're trying not to have a super straight, flat low back. Keep breathing. Press your right heel down, your right thigh down. All right, lift your head and shoulders up and bow toward your left leg. Try to get your belly up a little bit closer to your left thigh. Lengthen your spine. All right, head and shoulders down. Put the strap or the foot in your left hand. Bring your right hand to your hip and thigh. And slowly lower that left leg down. Keep that right hip and right thigh down. Check your left foot. Make sure your left heel is just slightly higher than your toes. Pull that left arm into your shoulder socket. Look over your right shoulder. All right, bring that leg back up. Switch hands on your strap or foot. Take your left arm out to the side, roll onto your outer right hip, bring that left leg across the body to the right. Try to get a little bit of a curve in the low back, so stick your tailbone out. You may need to slightly bend your left knee to do that. Look over your left shoulder. And come on out of it. All right, so next one. This is really cool. You're going to use your strap. So the strap, this is called the hammock in yin yoga. So you're going to make a big, big, big loop here with this strap. Really big. And you may have to readjust it a couple times, but we'll get a chance to kind of hang out. So the next thing you want to do is you're going to put the strap in the ball of your foot. And you may want to start super big and just kind of get smaller. Then make sure the buckle isn't behind your head, but you're going to take the strap behind your head, not on your neck, but where the base of your head comes to your neck. So make sure you're not under the actual neck vertebra. At the base of the skull is where you want to be. And you're going to find something that feels like your head is kind of hanging in a hammock. So we just warmed up everything a little bit here. So you might want to start simple. So I've got the strap at the base of my skull, maybe just a little higher up, depending on how much it slides. You can even take your hands there if you want. And what you want is a little bit, you want your head to be about, probably, 8 inches off the ground. So you want your head off the ground a little bit. And so that's just, everybody's a little bit different. So if you've got super tight hamstrings, you're going to have a much bigger loop. If your hamstrings are looser, your loop is going to be less so. And you're trying to find that spot where you can just kind of hang out here and relax here. And some people don't feel very comfortable with this just because they're kind of hanging in space. So for just emotional support, you can always put a block like right behind your shoulders and head just in case. It doesn't actually do anything. It just makes you feel like there's something there. It gives you some perspective, essentially. So nice deep breaths here. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And essentially what's happening is your hamstrings and your neck, that full extension, it's just kind of hanging out and trying to figure out where it's going. And it's very, very, very relaxing. So figure that one out. I'm going to give us some time for this because I realize some of you guys are probably still struggling with a strap. But breathe deeply. And then I have looser hamstrings, so what I'm finding is that the longer I stay here, the more I want to shorten up my strap. That may not be the case for you. You may want to loosen up your strap a little bit. Just relax and breathe. Deep inhales, deep exhales. Give this another minute. So if you don't happen to have a strap, you're just going for another forward bend here again, holding on. If this extended leg is not working for you, you can also go for a bent leg. So play around with that and see what you need to do. All right, let's go for the other side. So take that strap. You may have to start a little bit longer, a little bit more space, then you can shorten it up eventually. Again, right foot could be flat on the ground, or you can extend your leg. And then go ahead and get that strap behind your head, not on your neck. And then hang back as if you're in a hammock. Try not to bend your ears forward. Once you get to a place that you can relax, that's what you really want to focus on, is big, deep breathing and relaxing, just hanging back. You got one more minute. All right, and slowly release that strap. Go ahead and lie in Shavasana for just a moment and just notice how everything feels. All right, let's get a tiny bit of back bending in here. So walk your feet in, push your feet into the ground, and take your block under your hips. So I like to place the block at about the medium height and then stick it really close to my tailbone. So this is great for just getting the pelvis aligned, your SI joint. Feels really good to align that pelvis. And then you can go a little higher if you want to. So if this feels great, stay here. If you feel like you need just a little bit more back bend involved, you can also grab your mat on either side and roll your shoulders underneath you. and press the back of the head gently into the ground. You can also take that block to a higher level. So you can press into the ground, lift your heels, and get the block up to a higher level, and then drop your heels. And that'll give you a little bit more space to work into the shoulders as well. Gently press into the ground with your head. So the head needs to be just a little bit active. If you want to play around a little bit with this, you can take your legs up for legs up against the wall. So at any level, if you're at the highest level, it is a little wobbly, so just be aware of that you're going to have to do a little bit more stabilizing, a little bit more work to take your legs up. So I'm having to work really hard to keep my pelvis level, my belly zipped up so that I'm not rocking too much on my block. A little bit of adjustment might work. Grabbing the block and holding it might work as well. But you can also go a little lower on the block and then everything's much more stable. All right, and then take a moment and drop your hips to the ground. Walk your feet out to the sides of your mat and drop the knees in toward each other. Just take a moment here. It'll give you a nice little curve in the low back. Let's get a little stretch through the front of the hips here. So take your legs and windshield wipe them over to the right side. And then take your right foot and place it on top of the left thigh. And you can apply pressure or not. So you're getting a little stretch through the front and outer part of this left hip. All right, right foot comes back to the outside of the mat. Drop your knees over to the left-hand side like windshield wipers. Take your right foot on top of your left foot on top of your right thigh near the knee, and maybe apply a little bit of pressure. So again, you're working on this outer right hip here. Sartorial muscle, psoas. All right, and then let that go. All right, let's do one more back bend. So hug your knees into your chest, give yourself a little squeeze, rock gently from side to side. You may even want to roll in little circles around your lower back and sacrum. Okay, and then come on up. So from here, you can go as easy or as hard as you want to on this one. So everybody just kind of check in with your energy level, see how you feel. So if you want to go pretty easy on this one and just open up the shoulders, this is a great way to do it. You're going to bring your fingers pointing forward toward your toes. First finger is going to line up at the outside of your hips. Roll your shoulders onto your back and press down. You will notice that probably there's a lot of weight dominating in the pinky edge of your hand. So you want to press down between thumb and first finger and make sure that your weight is evenly distributed. So this is great right here. If this is feeling pretty comfortable, then you want to go a little further maybe and walk your feet up about halfway and come into a tabletop posture. If you feel like your weight is starting to turn, go back into the pinky edge of your hand again, then you probably want to stay down here and really work on those inner shoulders here, just pressing down and trying to get the weight evenly distributed. If you're here and this is super easy, weight is evenly distributed, then you're probably ready for the full-blown eastward-looking pose, which is extended legs, hips up. Try to get the balls of the feet to the ground. Don't forget to breathe. So any of those is great. You just decide where you want to be. And then we're going to do one more just to get a little bit more of a core in here. All right, so coming out of that, we're just going to do 5 little reps of this next one. So this next one, you're supposed to do this without blocks, but I find the blocks are really helpful, especially if you have ample butts. So I have a lot of muscle in my butt, and it's really hard to kind of tuck under without a little extra help. So the blocks are here on either side to give you a little bit more space to work with. And you're essentially going to do that same thing. Come into a tabletop, make sure the blocks are wide enough that you can slide through with your hips. Drop your hips, lift your toes, push with your heels. So my legs are pretty straight, and then I try to lift my legs up. And then number 2, drop the hips, lift the toes, push with your heels, tuck your butt. See if you can lift your legs up. Number 3, drop, push with your heels, lift. Number 4, drop and push, lift, or try. Last one, drop. You can also just lift with one leg. It doesn't have to be both. And let it go. Nice job. Okay, so I'll give you guys a couple options. You can take a blanket. I have a bolster, but you can do the same thing with a rolled up blanket. Get that right underneath you. This is an awesome way to relax. The blanket works really nicely as well. Hang out there. This is great for opening up shoulders. So often I don't have a bolster in the classroom and we use blocks instead. So if you don't have a bolster, this is where the blocks come in. So you can go upper block under your upper shoulders and then another block under your head. It's not quite as cushy, but it does exactly the same work in terms of shape. So you can hang out here. If you are not really interested in getting any more back bend in, then you can do legs up against the wall or a regular shavasana. So take some nice deep breaths. And this time, really take some deep breaths. So take a big inhale through your nose and a big exhale out of your mouth. And if you yawn, awesome. Take a big inhale through the nose and a big exhale out of the mouth. Couple more times. This time you're going to stick out your tongue and see if you can get rid of all the air inside you. So take a big inhale through the nose. Exhale, stick out your tongue. One more time. And so you get rid of all that breath when you stick out your tongue. That inhale takes care of itself. If you can stay here for a few more minutes and continue to rest, I encourage you to do so. If you feel like you have to get up and move, wiggle your fingers and toes, wiggle your wrists, roll your wrists and ankles in circles. Extend the body, find a stretch, do a big inhale, stretch it out. And a big exhale, relax. One more time, you want to hold this for about 2 or 3 breaths. Take a big inhale, stretch it out. Hold it on 1, on 2, on 3, on 4, on 5. Big exhale, relax. And again, if you can, stay here. If you are ready to get up, go ahead and do so. And you can mentally or physically put your hands in your heart center. You just take a moment, check in, see how you feel. Promise yourself that you will continue to seek authenticity in your life, your truth. Bring your hands up to your forehead for kind thoughts, down to your lips for kind words, and down to your heart center for kind intentions. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.